I'd like to take you back in time to around 15 years ago, to a teenager with a mop of a haircut, an Epiphone Les Paul, a Marshall MG amp, and a CD collection that consisted of pretty much just AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, and Aerosmith, just to name a few. He'd been playing guitar for a little while and it was getting pretty good, but he wanted to start experimenting with the kind of effects that his idols were using. Things like wah pedals and delays and choruses and fuzz sounds and flangers and all sorts of other things like that. He wanted all of these sounds at once at a price that was accessible to a school kid without having to buy 5 or 6 pedals that would be about 3 times the price. After seeing an advert in his favourite monthly guitar magazine, he decided to buy a Boss ME-50. It had all of the effects that he could possibly want and more on board. Not only that, but it was super simple to set up and use because all of the controls and functions were on the front. Everything had its own knob, everything had its own button, and there was no menu diving of any kind. So as you've probably guessed by now, that teenager was me. I'm a bit older now, I've got a bit more of a sensible haircut and a much broader taste in music than I did back then. However, one thing that hasn't changed about me is that I love effects, and I owe all of my love for guitar effects to Boss, which is why it's kind of a full circle moment that that teenager gets to sit here today and tell you about the brand new for 2023 Boss ME-90 multi-effects pedal. It's the latest update to the insanely popular ME range that dates all the way back to 1988, when Boss released what is considered to be the first ever multi-effects pedal known as the ME-5. I mean, it's a lot more basic than the ME pedals we know today, but it founded a lot of these principles of simplicity and ease of use that we know of when we think of the ME series today. But let's focus on this one that they've just released. It will of course be replacing the ME-80, which has had a pretty good 10-year innings and is actually one of the biggest selling multi-effects pedals of all time. For good reason too. They're super affordable and they are so much easier to use than all of the other compact multi-effects pedals on the market. But admittedly, things like the Boss GT range and of course all of the Line 6 HX stuff is designed to be compact and designed for a professional who can get to learn it and make all of the tiny little changes they want and set it up exactly how they like it. But my God, do they take some learning. They're so difficult just to sit down with and get some effects going like I want to, and probably like you want to. The teenager I was 15 years ago certainly didn't want to mess about in menus and sitting there with the manual and working out how to do the exact thing I wanted to do. That kid just wanted to plug in, turn some knobs, turn on some effects, and just play. The ME range has always had a dedicated knob or button for every setting on board. There's no dense deep diving through menus and sub-menus on a tiny little screen. Everything is on the surface. And the Boss ME-90 is certainly no different. So the question is really, why has it taken them 10 years to replace the Boss ME-80? If something isn't broken, you don't need to fix it. However, in 2023, there is now enough that we can add an upgrade on this unit that is actually worth upgrading to from the ME-80. So let's talk about what's new then. The main headline in terms of an update has to be the sound engine. We've now moved away from the old COSM or COSM ones that they used to use on the 80, and I remember it being on the 50, I think. And now we are moving on to Boss's newest sound engine, which is AIRD or AIRD. I don't know which one. Either way works. But either way, the AIRD or AIRD system is the same sound engine that you can find on the Boss GT1000 flagship guitar processor, which is like 3 times the price of this. It completely revolutionizes the sound of the effects and the amp models on board, taking advantage of all of the latest algorithms and technology to power the sounds. This even brings this new tuned down effect, which has been added on here, which we are definitely going to have a little play with in a bit. The Boss ME-90 now features compatibility with Boss's Tone Studio app, allowing you to organize all of your patches, as well as change some of the amp sounds, as well as some of the effects, and a whole lot more. As well as this, you now also have 3 custom IR slots for you to put in your own cab sim and mic pairings to use on pretty much any of the amps in the preamp section. You also have an effects loop on the back as well with a send and return, and this allows you to integrate the Boss ME-90 with any of your other existing effects. On the back as well, they've also added compatibility for the Boss BT dual Bluetooth adapter, meaning that you can not only use your phone and the iOS app or the Android app to control the Tone Studio, but you can also now stream audio into the ME-90, meaning you can jam along with your favorite tracks through the headphones, and it just makes it so much easier. What else? Well, it's also lighter at 2.9 kilograms as opposed to 3.6 on the ME-80, and they've managed to remove the requirement for 2 of the batteries in the back, so it can be battery operated, meaning that now you only need 4 AA's instead of 6. This will come as welcome news to people who are tired of having to buy so many AA batteries. They might as well have shares in Duracell. Lastly, there's a little footnote of a feature, but one that's really going to appeal to existing Boss ME-80 users who've wanted to use this as a standalone rig for live, and that's the fact that you have a switch on the back now which allows you to turn on and off the cab sim and the mic pairing from the preamp section. It's a feature that wasn't on the ME-80, meaning that if you wanted to use it live as a standalone rig and plug straight into a PA, in order to get the cab sim and mic pairing working from the preamp section, you had to plug like a dummy cable into the headphone section in order to get the cab sim and speaker pairing to turn on, because it wouldn't normally come out the output. It was a bit of a faff on the ME-80, particularly for people who wanted to use it live in that scenario. However, it's been addressed and they have a nice simple solution on the ME-90. I mean, in Boss's defense, the ME-80 was designed and released in an era before people started getting rid of their amps. However, on the ME-90, it's now easy to play with or without an amp. Lovely. Right, that's enough talking for me. I think you get an idea of everything that's been changed and upgraded. Now let's just have a listen to it. So I'm going to play on manual mode, and you just push this button here and the LED will go blue and all of these will light up. And I'm just going to make some patches myself to not only hopefully show you how everything sounds, but to also show you just how easy it is to twist some knobs and get a decent sound out of it. I mean, there are some presets on board, but it's just so simple to set up whatever you want anyway, so you don't really need them. Okay, and there we have it. That was the brand new Boss ME-90. From the company that pioneered guitar effects and indeed multi-effects, we have the continuation of a classic. It's got some sizable up-to-date features added, but it still retains the same layout and simplicity and the infrastructure for which the Boss ME range has been known ever since its inception in 1988. What do you guys think though? Have you ever owned one of the Boss ME pedals? Are you thinking of upgrading to this one? What's your favourite Boss effects they've ever released? Let us know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to see more things like this, and we will see you very soon.